You love soccer, the beautiful game, right? You love the skill, the passion, that sudden burst of electrifying action.
Hmm.
But if you're anything like me, you've probably also felt that frustrating drag. When the clock just seems to grind to a halt.
Yeah, definitely.
The endless stoppages, the players writhing on the ground one moment and then bang, spring it up the next.
Oh, yeah.
The arguments with the officials, it can honestly drain the life right out of a match sometimes.
You really can.
We crave those nonstop moments, but yeah, too often it feels like the real drama is happening off the ball.
Well, that frustration, that's exactly what the International Football Association Board, IFAB, is trying to tackle head on.
Okay.
For this upcoming 2025-26 season, they're rolling out some truly transformative rule changes.
Transformative. Okay, so not just little tweaks.
No, these aren't minor things around the edges. They're actually designed to fundamentally reshape the game. The idea is to make it faster, fairer, and hopefully, much more thrilling.
Right.
They've even been trialing some of these concepts already in places like the MLS, and the recent 2025 Club World Cup gave us a bit of a sneak peek.
Interesting. So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack these significant new rules.
Yeah, let's get into them.
We'll try to understand the specific problems they're aiming to solve, and then really explore their potential impacts. The big question, I suppose, is this. Is this the overhaul soccer desperately needs? Or, could it risk changing the very essence of the sport we love?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Let's get into it. So let's unpack this first. What exactly has been frustrating fans and, well, slowing the game down for so long?
It really boils down to a pacing crisis. I mean, despite soccer's massive global appeal, we're talking over 4 billion fans.
Huge numbers.
Huge. But systemic issues have truly made time wasting, well, an art form almost.
Agrees.
We're talking about players faking injuries, goalkeepers dawdling with the ball for what feels like forever.
Keepers, yeah.
And entire teams just mobbing referees after calls. You know the scene.
All too well.
And look, a 2023 study actually found that the ball in play time averages only about 55 minutes in a standard 90-minute match.
Only 55. Wow.
Yeah, think about that. Nearly 40% of the game is just lost to stoppages.
That's incredible.
And we've even seen those extended stoppage times stretch to, 10 or 12 minutes sometimes, which just highlights how much action we're actually missing.
Yeah, it's like an admission of the problem itself. And you, the listener, you're definitely not alone in feeling that frustration.
Not at all.
I saw a 2024 fan survey on Twitter. It showed a staggering 68% of people felt time wasting was the sport's biggest issue.
68%, that's massive.
And 52% specifically cited those fake injuries as a major turnoff. So it's pretty clear IFAB had a mandate, really, to respond.
They really did. The pressure was on.
Okay, so let's dive into the specifics then. These new rules, starting with, well, probably one of the most talked about changes.
Right. Let's start with Rule 1, cracking down on fake injuries. Wow.
The big one.
Exactly. This is directly aimed at what a lot of people call the theatrical injury epidemic.
Agree.
The new rule is pretty straightforward. If a referee decides a player needs medical attention on the field and calls for a coach or medic,
Okay.
that player must leave the field for a minimum of 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay.
This was trialed in the MLS, actually. Now, the only exceptions are genuinely serious medical issues, clear head injuries, or fouls that result in a yellow or red card for the opponent. So basically, if the injured player is clearly the victim of a punishable foul.
Okay. So no more dramatic collapses followed by that instant, miraculous recovery the second the ball's out of play.
That's the idea.
This is fascinating. How fundamentally does that shift a player's calculation? That cost-benefit analysis in a high-pressure moment.
Well, it certainly forces players to think twice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Faking an injury now carries a real risk. Leaving your team short-handed for 2 whole minutes, that's a very costly trade-off, especially, in a tight match.
Definitely.
And in that 2025 Club World Cup trial, they saw stoppages reduced by 30% when this penalty was consistently enforced.
30%. That's significant.
It is. The intent is really twofold. Encourage honesty and also ensure genuinely injured players get the proper care off the field.
But what about concerns? Could it inadvertently punish genuinely injured players if the ref makes the wrong call initially?
That's a critical question, and yeah, it's a valid concern. It absolutely puts more pressure on the referee to make that quick, correct judgment call on the severity right there in the moment.
Right. High stakes for the officials, too.
Very high stakes.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've tackled individual players potentially faking it. What about those moments when the ball is firmly in the goalkeeper's hands? They're kind of notorious for stretching time, aren't they?
Oh, indeed.
Oh,
Which brings us to Rule 2. Goalkeepers on a leash.
laughed slightly. On a leash, I like that.
Yeah, well, goalkeepers are notorious for holding the ball far beyond the existing 6-second rule, which, let's be honest, is rarely enforced anyway.
True. Very true.
Data from 2024 showed keepers averaged, get this, 12.3 seconds per possession.
Double the limit.
Exactly, with almost no consistent enforcement. So the 2025-26 rule extends the limit slightly to 8 seconds.
8 seconds, okay. Still tight.
But here's the kicker, pardon the pun. There's a game-changing penalty. Exceeding the 8 seconds now results in a corner kick for the opposing team.
Whoa, a corner. Not an indirect free kick.
Nope. Gone is the rarely enforced, often ineffective indirect free kick. Now it's a corner. That's a far more severe consequence.
That's a huge shift in leverage for the attacking team. A corner kick is a real scoring opportunity.
Yeah.
How will referees manage this precisely? Will there be like a clock, a visible signal?
Absolutely. To eliminate ambiguity, because you need that clarity,
Yeah.
referees will use a visible 5-second countdown, holding up their fingers, similar to how it was trialed in the 2025 Club World Cup.
Okay, so everyone sees it.
Everyone sees it. Player, crowd, coaches. And actually, there was a pretty famous late-game incident in one of those trial matches where a keeper dawdled, got penalized, corner kick, led to a goal, changed the momentum completely.
Wow. Real consequences.
Exactly. And the trials indicate something like a 25% increase in ball and play time just from this rule. It forces keepers to distribute quickly, stop messing around, and it fosters much faster attacks.
It's almost like they'll actually have to, play soccer quickly.
Agrees, pretty much. Get the ball moving.
Okay, moving on from individual player actions, what about that collective chaos we sometimes see around the officials? It feels like almost every game, referees are just constantly surrounded, mobbed.
You're touching on Rule 3, restoring respect and order.
Needs restoring, yeah.
Definitely. Those chaotic scenes, multiple players mobbing the referee, it undermines the game's integrity, but critically, it delays play massively sometimes.
Yeah, just eats up time.
So the new captain-only rule restricts those discussions with the referee purely to the team captains.
Just the captain.
Or if the captain happens to be the goalkeeper, then a designated outfield player can do it.
Okay.
Any non-captains who approach the referee in that protesting way risk a yellow card. Simple as that. Like rugby. Exactly like rugby. It's inspired by rugby's much more, let's say, respectful culture around officials.
Yeah, you don't see that kind of mobbing there.
You really don't. And the trials are promising. It reduced referee confrontations by 40% in the 2024 UEFA Youth League trials where they tested it.
40%. That's a huge reduction.
Huge.
So what does this mean for the sort of overall game management, the atmosphere on the pitch?
Well, beyond just limiting players on the field, head coaches are now also directly accountable for their bench's behavior. They can face cards for misconduct from the technical area.
Okay, holding the coaches responsible too.
Yep. And those halftime confrontations with officials walking off the pitch, strictly banned now.
Good.
These changes are really designed to keep the focus squarely on the soccer itself. Not on arguments, not on theatrics.
And what do fans think?
Fan support for this seems quite high, actually. That 2025 X poll I mentioned, it showed 73% of fans backed the captain-only rule. They seem to want a more disciplined game.
Yeah, less arguing, more playing. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay, so finally, it's not just these big ticket items, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned smaller tweaks too, things that maybe individually aren't huge, but collectively could make a difference in keeping the game flowing.
Yes, absolutely. These are often the little irritations that just add up over 90 minutes. Let's call it Rule 4, small tweaks, big flow.
Okay.
So a few key ones. Handball clarity. Accidental handballs in the penalty area that deny a clear goal-scoring opportunity, that'll now be a yellow card, not a red.
The triple punishment discussion.
Exactly. This avoids that penalty, red card, and suspension combo, which many felt was way too harsh for an accidental handball. Deliberate handballs denying a goal. Still a red, obviously.
Okay, that seems fair. What else?
Penalty kick fairness. Remember those incidents where a kicker slips during their run-up and accidentally double touches the ball?
Yeah, looked really unlucky.
Totally. Now, the penalty will be retaken, not disallowed. It addresses those, high-profile incidents from 2024 where players got harshly penalized for what was clearly just an accident, a slip.
Good adjustment.
Then there are things like streamlined stoppages, making substitutions during official water breaks, for instance, just to minimize extra delays.
Makes sense.
And dropped balls. They now automatically go to the team that clearly had possession when play stopped. Reduces those slightly awkward, sometimes disputed restarts.
Yeah, those could be weird.
And finally, a small visual thing. Uniform updates. Player numbers are now required on both jerseys and shorts. Just improves identification for referees, commentators, fans, everyone.
Okay, practical.
Yeah. And these tweaks, while they seem subtle individually, the idea is they collectively reduce those unnecessary little stoppages and potential controversies. A 2025 MLS trial actually showed a 15% decrease in overall referee disputes after they implemented this bundle of rules.
15% just from those. That's pretty good. Adds up.
It really does add up over the course of a game.
Okay, so those are the immediate changes we can expect for 2025-26. But IFAB is also looking further ahead, right? Exploring some, well, truly radical ideas for the future. Things that could really alter how we see certain moments.
Yes, absolutely. They're definitely looking beyond the next season. And the most notable one being discussed is the blue card and the sin bin system.
Ah, the sin bin. Very different for soccer.
Very different. So a blue card, which would be issued for things like cynical fouls, the tactical pullback or clear dissent towards the referee,
Okay.
would send that player to a sin bin for 10 minutes.
10 minutes off the pitch. Team down a player.
Exactly. Leaving their team shorthanded for that period. Trials back in 2024, mostly in amateur and youth leagues, showed about a 35% drop in those kinds of tactical fouls.
Because there's a real punishment now.
Yeah.
Beyond just a yellow.
Precisely. It effectively bridges that gap between a yellow card, which sometimes feels insufficient for those professional fouls, and a red card, which might be too harsh. It offers a more maybe balanced punishment.
Interesting idea. What's FIFA's stance on this one? Because that sounds like it could be a real game changer at the top level.
Well, FIFA currently deems it premature for top-tier adoption.
Oh.
They've cited concerns about its potential impact on elite competition, the flow, how it would work with VAR, all that stuff. So for now, it's kind of a wait and see on the blue card for the professional game.
Gotcha. Any other radical ideas floating around?
Well, another one that keeps popping up is replacing throw-ins with kick-ins.
Kick-ins, like from futsal.
Sorta, yeah. The idea is it could potentially spark more attacks, make restarts quicker and more dangerous. This was discussed again recently in some 2025 UEFA forums.
And how are fans reacting to that?
Predictably mixed, I'd say. Looking at reactions on X again, it's roughly split. About 48% seem to oppose kick-ins, calling them too gimmicky or worrying it removes a unique, traditional part of the game.
Yeah, I can see that. Throw-ins have their own tactical element, don't they?
They do. So yeah, that one's still very much in the discussion phase.
Okay, so let's pull back to the bigger picture then.
Okay.
After discussing all these changes, the ones coming soon, the ones maybe on the horizon, can these rules, do you think, truly revitalize soccer? Can they address those pacing issues that frustrate you, the fan, so much?
Look, the 2025-26 rules are definitely a bold response. There's no doubt about that. And the data we have from the various trials, it suggests maybe a 20 to 30% increase in overall game tempo is possible.
Which could be huge for in-game.
Absolutely. Could potentially boost viewership. And let's face it, there might be some urgency there. I mean, the 2024 Champions League final actually saw something like a 15% drop in Nielsen ratings in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
So keeping the action flowing feels pretty important right now.
But isn't there that risk, the risk of overcorrecting? I mean, soccer's tactical depth, that kind of chess match quality, there's a huge part of its charm for many purists, myself included. Does making it faster necessarily mean losing some of that, nuanced strategic play?
That raises a really important question, and it's the core tension IFAB faces here, isn't it? The rules have to strike this delicate balance. You want to enhance the excitement, speed things up, reduce frustration, but without sacrificing the sport's fundamental essence.
Exactly.
And while fan sentiment seems largely positive, remember, 62% praise the new injury rule.
Right.
You can't ignore that 29% who worry it could penalize genuine injuries unfairly. That's a significant minority with a valid concern. The ultimate goal has to be to enhance, not overshadow, those moments of brilliance we all watch for that perfectly timed counterattack, a moment of individual genius, a great defensive stand. That's the beautiful game, right?
That's what we love.
So what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that soccer really stands at a crossroads in 2025. These rule changes, they feel like a surgical strike against time wasting, against fake injuries, against referee harassment.
Targeted solution.
Targeted solutions promising a faster, fairer game by, forcing players to stay honest, speeding up goalkeeper play significantly, and trying to restore respect for officials. These reforms really could make matches more thrilling, more consistent.
Whether they'll succeed in making every match a can't-miss spectacle, well, that remains to be seen, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a clear signal, isn't it? Soccer is ready, maybe needs, to evolve.
It feels like it.
The beautiful game is getting a significant makeover. So the final thought for you, listening. As these new rules roll out, will you notice the difference in your own viewing experience next season? And maybe more importantly, will it truly bring back that nonstop thrill you crave?
Yeah, will it feel different?
That's definitely something for you to mull over as the new season approaches.